So Zootopia killed it during its opening weekend of March 6th of 2016 at the box office, and honestly, rightfully so.
But Zootopia was special. It had the Pixar touch, even though it wasn't at all made by Pixar. I actually screwed that up when making this video. But the universe Walt Disney Animations managed to put together in the film was massive, and it shows even 4 years later with a presumed sequel.
Apparently.
Have you ever noticed how some movies or games suddenly take over the entire fandom? For example, almost overnight, everyone starts creating art, theories, and original characters based on whatever went viral? Well, although it does happen outside the furry fandom, inside the fandom, it feels as though it happens so much more often. It all starts with a few people liking a few characters, and then it turns into a complete obsession fandom-wide. Thinking about that made me wonder why this happens. So, I did a little bit of research on the topic and came to a few conclusions, which I'll be going over in several sections of this video. Unsurprisingly, what I found is that this essentially all leads back to anthropomorphic animals. Furries are naturally drawn to these animal characters with human traits, whether that's talking, wearing clothes, dealing with complex emotions, or anything else really. So when a story absolutely nails any of those concepts, it usually resonates with people in the furry fandom on a whole other level. For example, Zootopia. For most people in 2016, it was just a fun little children's movie about a bunny who wanted to be a police officer. But for so many people, it was the movie that made them activate like some sort of sleeper agent and begin looking into the furry fandom, eventually joining it like everybody else before them, with other movies like The Jungle Book. And it's not just about the visuals or cuteness factor. As I said, there's some sort of powerful force generated when seeing anthropomorphic animals navigate human-like struggles and relationships. That essence of familiarity to everyday life, of course, to a certain extent, is exactly what makes these stories so compelling for furries. Fast forward to today, and you can clearly see the same phenomenon with newer movies. The bad guys didn't just do well, it became a sensation in the furry fandom. The detailed story where characters changed over the course of the movie gave furries the perfect heartwarming story to obsess over. Games get this treatment too. Titles like Night in the Woods or On Your Tail have fairly large furry followings precisely because they're not just games with animal characters, they're games where the animal nature of the characters are pretty important to the story and world. Even unexpected titles can capture the fandom's attention if they play with anthropomorphism in varied ways. Cult of the Lamb seems to be a great example. It is rather captivating with its interesting looking animal characters and dark humor that hit just the right spot for quite a few people in the fandom. Also, as a quick side note, you'll have to forgive me if what I said about those games didn't make much sense. I tried not to spoil them for myself, and I took all of the information about them at face value from articles and Reddit discussions I read that didn't go too deep into the story of the game. Anyways, here's the thing. These hyper-fixations go way beyond just enjoying a well thought out story with some anthropomorphism thrown in there. For many furries, it is argued that the beloved characters and worlds become tools for self-exploration, just like personas do. They also allow for deeper community connections. On websites such as Furaffinity, Reddit, and Discord, chat spaces related to the fandom light up with discussions and original characters inspired by those exact stories. They create shared understandings and interests which help furries connect over more than just the general interest of anthropomorphic characters, no matter what language they speak, as almost everybody has access and can interpret these creative pieces. So whether people decide to take a deep dive into lore together or create new pieces of media set in these worlds, these stories become both the icebreakers and the social glue, if you want to call it that, of the fandom. What's really fascinating though is how these hyperfixations fuel creativity across the fandom. When the people, usually specifically artists, get obsessed with something, something, their motivation levels feel like every single one of them just drank a 1920s Coca-Cola. Artists end up reimagining scenes and stories in countless styles. Writers craft elaborate fanfictions that expand the lore, and some even design fursuits inspired by their favorite characters. And it's not just online. At varied conventions, you can sometimes see panels discussing these stories, meetups for fans, and even themed events. It tends to create some sort of feedback loop where the original media inspires fans, who then create new content that deepens everyone's connection to it, which then prompts people to create new content, and so on forever and ever. So, when you see the fandom collectively lose its mind over a new movie or game, there's actually a lot going on beneath the surface. These hyper-fixations thrive because they combine three key elements that naturally occur. The first being compelling anthropomorphic characters, the second, opportunities for self-expression, and the third, strong community bonding. If a story coincidentally causes all three events to occur, the fandom will have an obsession over the media, whatever it may be, for several years to come. It's even why some drama starts, as people argue their points of which stories are better. But anyways, what is the film, game, or general story that got you interested in the fandom? I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comment section below. Or if you would like, you can start a conversation on my Discord server at dsc.gg/skykes. And with that, I hope you all have a fantastic day.